Welcome to My Career Journey, a podcast that highlights different career paths, tackles tough topics, and shares actionable tips and insights. I'm Emily.
And I'm Allegra. We're your hosts and both career switchers. In each episode, we'll talk about our experiences, learn from others, and help you find happiness and success in your career journey. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone. Today, we are doing a continuation of our personal journeys, our transitions, and this is part 3 of our series. So let's recap what we've covered so far. In part 1, we went back to where Emily and my careers started, which was as professional musicians. We talked about our lives back in the day when we were musicians. Part 2, we talked about how we made the switch from music to the careers that we have today. And today, we are going to break down what the heck we do and what our jobs are like day to day. So if you ever wanted to learn more about conversation design and management consulting, guess what? You're in the right place. Welcome to part 3.
So let's start with a quickfire round. What is your official job title?
Okay, so my official job title is kind of long. I am a senior consultant in transformation, focusing on workforce modernization.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
Mine is just senior content designer, which doesn't really say much. I feel like there are new titles that pop up every week in my field.
Yeah.
But that is my official title.
Okay, short and sweet.
Yes. Next question is, if you had to describe what you did to a 4th grader, how would you explain it in one sentence?
Okay, I don't know if 4th grader, this would resonate with them, but I think this is how I'd say it. I help people and organizations successfully go through big changes so that they can best live out their purpose.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Nice. Okay. You're above 4th grade, so that's great. Okay, how about you? What would you say to a 4th grader?
Okay, simply, I help people and computers communicate.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I guess it's the broadest way I could describe it.
Oh my gosh.
That covers everything that I do. So
that's really sweet. Also gives me a very distinct visual that could be a good cartoon.
Oh, I would love to see that.
I know.
Okay, and then last one is, how many hours a week do you usually work?
I feel like when people think about management consultants, you have that like old world view of people just like cranking things out in a conference room on planes all the time. My experience has been 40 to 50 hours a week is standard. Sometimes it's a little more, but it's usually at least 40 billable hours, sometimes up to 50 or rarely above. How about you?
Okay. Yeah, for me, I'm only supposed to work 40, but I do work overtime more than I should, probably.
Yeah.
So I think on busy weeks, it's probably more like 50 to 70, but that's when I'm at my busiest, and that's my own choice to do that. So.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with consulting. Usually when you have a project you're on, you have a set amount of hours that you've agreed for the client to pay for your time. And it's almost always a 40-hour work week. And so often, I would say up to 50, because sometimes you have external things that you're doing above what your client is paying for. You have to fit those around the edges. And then sometimes you just end up, they say, burning hot is running more hours, but we try not to do that. Try to keep it to 40 when possible.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Okay, so what do you actually do?
What does a consultant do? I get asked this question a lot because I think also with consulting, it is a broad term. You can do a lot of different types of consulting, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to paint kind of a high level picture that if you want to nerd out more about what I specifically do, we can talk about that. But as a consultant, you're in a client-facing role, which means that typically, in my case, I'm contracted to do a project for one company that has a contract with my company, and then I am assigned to do that work based on whatever is in that contract. My clients have ranged from global retail to very small local nonprofits. So the kind of work I do is varied in terms of what kind of work I'm doing, but I've primarily focused on social impact and nonprofit and public sector. Yeah. I mean, the consultant is working day to day with the client, helping them solve problems that they couldn't otherwise do on their own, or create solutions that they couldn't do on their own. There's a reason that they're paying all that money to bring in extra help. But yeah, it's a lot of day-to-day client work.
Do you get to choose the projects you work on, or how does that work?
That's a great question. Not really. You have a base salary. Your bonus is based on how many billable hours you're doing.
Oh, I
And
see.
if you aren't doing billable hours for client work, you're at risk of being terminated or losing your bonus or whatever your company says. But um, I say that because you don't want to be on the bench. So usually you're not going to turn down a project. There can be relationship management where the best thing is to get extended. If you love your project, figure out another way that you can help your client continue good work or solve another problem for them. Then they might do something else that adds you on that project longer. And then you don't have to start all over again.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was working for an agency, my manager would let me know like what projects were coming down the pipeline. So
Yeah.
I could, if there was one I was particularly interested in, I was able to say, oh, I would love to work on that one.
Yeah.
Or if I was on a project for a while, I was able to say, hey, I want a new challenge or I want to work on something else and I can move to something else.
I mean, and there is some truth to that too with what I do, and you that's part of like when you know that your project is going to be ending, let people know what you want to do, right?
Mhm.
And be clear
Yeah.
about that. Start to talk to people working with the client you want to work with. Say, hey, what's coming up? Um, but ultimately, you don't it's like you kinda have a choice, you don't really have a choice, it's
Yeah,
kind of
I
that
get
fuzzy
that.
middle where, like,
It's
you can
hard.
advocate. It's
Yeah,
hard, yeah, but it's
right.
not like I'm signing the contract or, like,
Of
doing the
course,
client at
of
my
course.
level, but so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a good point. You do have some sway.
Mhm. That's good.
Yeah. What do you do?
The best way I can describe it is I work with a team of people to find out what users want out of an experience, and then I help determine what content and content meaning any information like text, video, images works best for the experience, figure out the right place and time to deliver it to people, and make it easy to understand and use. And I actually specialize in designing AI experiences. So I'll help design experiences for AI chatbots and voice assistants. Um, and that's been my main focus for the last couple of years.
Wow. So
So
when you are designing AI chatbots, how much of that is you working solo and designing something versus like I don't know. I'm thinking of the technical side. How much of what you do is technical versus like interpersonal?
So I'd say it's a mix because there are times when I have to spend time, focus time just writing out flows or writing out logic and doing some detailed strategic thinking.
Mhm.
But a lot of it is also like working with the developers and engineers to figure out the limitations of what we can do.
So you're the person that says, okay, here's how this conversation's going to flow. If then, what's the experience going to be like? And then you hand it over to the developers to say, can you build this or what are the requirements? Right. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm basically communicating the vision of the experience to the developers so that they can build it. And
Yep.
of course, we have a huge team with, we work with researchers, we work with, and I'll talk about this a little bit later with my day to day and stuff. But yeah, we do user research. We work with product managers, data scientists, machine learning engineers, lots of people. So it's a lot of fun.
It's one of the things I love about consulting too is the kind of people, and like I mentioned, industries that you can have exposure to is really varied.
Yeah. Hmm.
There's so much you can learn from that, right? Because all
Yes.
these people's brains and culture and norms are different, and what you can absorb and how you can meet them where they are, I just find fascinating.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, it's one of the reasons I love the field, and it never gets boring because I'm
Yeah.
always learning something new.
And you're in a
So
field that's also really hot right now.
yes. Yeah, so I'm really lucky with the field being so mainstream and present in people's minds. Yeah, I mean, there is fear that, AI's taking our jobs, AI's,
Yeah.
doing
Building your own
all this stuff.
replacement. Yeah.
Yeah, but having worked in the field for so long, it's not there yet. We
Yeah.
need humans to be designing these experiences.
That's what we say, humans in the loop, always.
Yep. Yes,
Yeah.
100%. So, what does a typical day look like for you?
Okay, so a typical day, I log on. I start thinking about work probably around 7 a.m. I'll usually log on to work somewhere around 8 a.m., but I will say it depends on where my client is based. So much of my schedule is based
Mm,
around where my client lives. Right now, a lot of
yeah.
my client team is on the Pacific coast. So they're on Pacific time, which is 2 hours behind me. So
Right.
I don't necessarily need to log on at 8 a.m. the same way that I would for someone in Central or Eastern time, even.
Hmm.
Um, I like a little time to just settle in and read emails and get my to-do list before I'm being asked for a million other things.
Same, same.
Right? I think,
Yeah.
especially you and I both work remote, and there's a lot of
Mhm.
meetings as a result
Yes.
of that. And so to have the space to just make sure that you have your priorities set and are thinking about what's going to add the biggest value, so that you can have that documented and then take into account anything that's coming from your project boss or your client. Because once I'm on and the client's on, I'm on call, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, Typically my day is focusing on like transformations, as I mentioned. So I'm on the people side of things. I might be creating documents like what we call a case for change, which is documenting that kind of from to. Why are they changing? What do we hope success looks like? Or
Hmm.
I might be building out a communications plan or a training strategy or drafting any of the things that support that course content. And then I'll be working with the client to say, how do you feel about this? Does this resonate? Where are
Hmm.
risks and where might we fail? What would you both most be excited about succeeding? And then helping all of the things meet their timeline with that.
Mm. Wow. That's
Yeah.
sounds very sounds intense.
Sometimes I think
Yeah.
that one of the things about consulting is like you're serving a client, so you truly are that kind of on call nature of like, all right, what do they need? All right, am I available? Like, what are we reshuffling? What does executive leadership say? It's yeah, it
Right.
can be intense.
Yeah. I think what I meant to say is it sounds very involved.
Yes, it is.
That's
Yes,
yeah, I think that's a better word.
yeah, it is involved.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and my work has ranged from like process improvements to like to moving a paper process to Salesforce, or
Mhm.
even helping like an organization shift to a totally new operating model with legal implications.
Wow.
So it's like the content is really diverse, but a lot of the type of work with change management and learning strategy is similar.
Okay. Yeah. So for me, I'm always doing something different, but on any given day, I could be collaborating with product and content designers, engineers, product managers, UX researchers, data scientists, like I mentioned earlier, and anyone else involved with what I'm working on. Like when I was working on a project for a healthcare company, I was working with a team of clinical writers. So yeah, just a wide range of people. And then I could also be in learning sessions where I'm either presenting or others are presenting. We have those pretty often at our company, which is nice. And then I
Really?
do,
That's cool.
yeah, we have Fridays are dedicated learning days. So we have people give presentations or we do our own learning. Or we share what we've learned. And then I could be in strategy meetings to shape the direction of a product or service. I could be, like I mentioned before, too, writing, figuring out logic for an experience, or I could also be testing and evaluating AI experiences. And then I could also be doing user research and talking to customers or working with the research team to figure out what to test. I could be looking through metrics, statistics, and customer feedback to find problems that we can fix. Then sometimes in just in meetings all day, which makes it hard to get work done. But I just have to be very efficient and organized with my time. So that's
Yeah.
the basic basic rundown.
Wow. I have to say, I mean, I was on a Salesforce project for 2 years where I worked pretty closely with user experience designers, and I
Mhm.
learned so much about how, as a change manager, like how user experience designers think about a journey and a meaningful experience for the person. I
Mhm.
took so much of that that I use now in how I conduct stakeholder interviews and how I think about change, risk, benefits, because there is such a holistic consideration for how y'all think about that. That is so cool. Um, I love user experience design, and yeah, and it's so
Yeah.
multifaceted in how you're collaborating with teams.
Yeah. It's crucial to be able to deliver like what users want. So
Yeah, know your audience, meet them
yeah.
where they are, and create something that'll work for
Mhm.
them, not what you think they
Yeah.
need, right? Same thing with
Yeah.
consulting. Yeah. Oh my
Exactly.
gosh. I wonder how has it been different though? And you mentioned your current company having learning days. How has it been different when you work for more of a boutique firm versus a larger firm, in kind of what your day to day looks like?
I think with smaller firms, you end up tending to do
Yeah.
more work and like wear more hats. When I was working at a startup, I was doing the user research and the UX design and multiple things. So I think it's just dependent really on the project and the company and the size.
Yep. Makes sense.
Do you have to work on the weekend?
I really try not to. I try to keep, and I'm able to keep almost all my work within business hours.
Mhm.
That was something that in higher ed and nonprofit and performance, it was almost impossible to do because, right, you're always
Yeah.
like,
Well,
almost
concerts
always,
are on the
well, concerts
weekends.
are on the weekends. But even in higher ed and nonprofit, it was like programs would be on the weekends or events. And so
Right. That
that
makes sense.
was something that like boundaries were important. And I'm grateful because then generally I have my evenings and weekends free to do things that I love, like go to my board meetings for my church or prep for our
Mhm.
podcast or go for a run. Um, so every
Yeah.
so often I'll have something where there's like crunch time on a project or, it's like a fire drill or something and you have to go above and beyond. But for me, that's
Right.
not the norm. It's special circumstances.
That's great. I do not have to work on the weekends and people won't bother you over the weekends. Like family time is important
Yes.
and having time to yourself and just decompressing from the week. I mean, people work hard during the week and
Yeah.
it gets intense and there I do have late night meetings because I am working with teams on the West Coast. So the time difference is, but I think for the most part my work-life balance is very good.
Yep.
So,
Same. Same.
yeah. Do you get to set your own schedule at all?
It's pretty much when the client's on, you're on.
Mm,
That's the expectation because you are there to
yeah.
partner with them. So,
Right.
I mean, I can be clear. Like you said, people are respectful as long as you say in advance, here's when I need to be out, and you work around, whatever options are as much as possible. But,
Mhm.
typically now that I'm working with someone on Pacific time, I try and stay on till at least 6, which is still
Mhm.
for their time. But then it's, I'm on most of the day.
Of course,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, that's about it. How about you?
It depends on the job. Currently, I am able to set my core working hours, and although I do have some big group meetings, I don't necessarily have control over,
Yeah.
and some later meetings, like I mentioned, because of the time difference. I can be flexible with any smaller group meetings or one-on-one meetings. So, in some of my other full-time jobs, though, it was like 9 to 5. I had to be there, and then people
Yeah.
just logged off, and I didn't have to think about it after. But yeah, and then if you're freelancing consulting, which is what I was doing before the full time jobs, you can set your own schedule completely.
Yeah.
You might have one meeting or two meetings that you have to go to, but for the most part, they're very flexible.
I'll say that like everything in consulting is so client dependent, right? Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
it's like some clients, I haven't had to work with these clients, but I know they exist because my friends work for them. You have to be on site at like certain hours. So, right. And
Oh
we're
gosh, yeah.
right. So
Hmm.
it's not just like you have to be available during this time, but you actually have to be on their premises, on their campus.
Right.
I mean, and that's just something to know about. Like we were talking about before, is kind of like, do you get to choose your project? Something else that we think about a lot with consulting and any job is like travel. Especially, we're all so
Hmm.
used to working remote, and with the pandemic, my company lets you set travel preferences. So
Okay.
uh, some people want to travel a lot, and they get to do that. They might even like be
Yeah.
flying to the client. The most travel I've ever had was within my city, especially when I was working for
Okay.
a hospital system, going on site, being there, doing kind of interviews, and maybe sometimes for like workshops or client presentations. But I haven't had to fly at all for client work or a project yet.
Wow. Same with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have to travel, but I do because I want to.
Yeah.
And there are opportunities to travel, I'd say at least a few times a year, but it's not a requirement. And I do travel for professional development though,
Yeah.
and I will travel to conferences all over the world that I either speak at or attend about 3 to 4 times a year. So
Nice.
yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
But that's more personal. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I'll say too, like the personal choice of it, I think, is so important, and like asking those questions. We've talked about interviewing and things. Like, I'm so grateful that my company now gives you that choice. And you
Yeah.
asked about like, do you get to choose your project? There was a project I was asked to do a few years ago, and it would have required me to fly from Minneapolis to Oregon multiple
Oh,
times
wow.
a month.
Oh,
And I was
that's
like,
a lot.
okay, it's a lot. And we had just moved in. Like, we were trying to settle into our new place. I didn't want to be gone for like just adjusting to a new city. And so I said no to that one. Um,
Mhm.
and I was grateful. They were really understanding. They were like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And I think I had then like one more week of bench time. So it wasn't
Okay.
too bad. There were other things that were there. But if there weren't any other projects, I think I probably might have had to do it, but I don't know. We'll see. I was grateful it worked out the way it did.
Yeah, 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 for sure. No, it can be a lot sometimes. Do you feel like you've been able to use skills from your past jobs or from music?
Heck yes. I think we that multi hyphenate thing where you're just adding another skill. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? I mean, I can go into them, but I'm curious.
Yeah, no, I use them every single day,
Yes.
and there's so many.
Yeah. I okay. So the one of the ones that came top to mind for me was resilience and persistence.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, I had work ethic
yes,
and
that's good.
uh-huh.
Problem solving,
Yes, mhm.
big
I had
one.
nonverbal communication.
Ooh, that's
Um,
good. That's so true.
I use it all the time, and it's so helpful. Collaboration, another one.
Mm. I similar to that, understanding your role within a team. Like if you're in a string quartet or an orchestra, you have to know you're a bigger part. You're a part of a bigger entity, and you have to know where you fit into that. Like, I'm a change manager. I have to know my role to work with a solution architect or a business analyst or
Right.
the project lead to give the client what they're asking for and make a difference.
Mhm. Another one was stage presence. Uh,
Yes.
I use that all the time for presentations and just speaking, public speaking.
Yeah. That performing under pressure is a big one.
Yes. Yeah.
Last one I had was attention to detail.
Mm, yes. That's a big one.
All
I
those
have that one too.
tiny little sharps and accidentals.
Yeah. And just, like, being thorough with your approach to making every single detail the way you want it to sound to people and the way you want it to resonate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have one more, flexibility and adaptability.
Mm,
Those are big ones, for
yes.
me because I mean, especially with AI, things are so fast paced. So you just can't rely on a single tool because something's going to come out the next day. You're going to have to learn something completely new. So you just have to, go with the flow.
Yeah.
What skills do you find you use the most?
I suspect that we're going to have some of these that are similar. Project management is a big
Oh,
one,
okay. Hmm.
not just for the project as a whole, although I often find myself, even though I'm not staffed as a project manager, helping with a lot of project management.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I feel like that's just part of my role, even though it's not
I know.
explicitly stated.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. If you're organized and you're a good communicator, it's going to happen. You're going to have
Yeah.
to do it. Uh,
Exactly.
which
Exactly.
is fine, right? We know how to track project risk, status, timeline for everyone's delivery, how people are feeling about it and sentiment, all that. Yeah. So that's important, I think. Strategic thinking and problem solving, like we talked about. And I actually think that's another thing that was beneficial as a musician is when you have a big audition or a big concert, you have to do a work back plan and think about all the different dependencies and preparation you have to do in order to successfully get to that performance.
Mm,
Or a
mhm.
big fundraiser from my nonprofit world, right? And so, kind of being
Yeah.
able to anticipate complex problems, especially when you have complex transformations with a lot of groups, key stakeholders, as we call them, that need to be
Yeah.
taken into consideration. Like, you have to do a lot of strategic thinking to plan for their needs and all the different requirements of the organization
Mhm.
and the people they serve. And then the last three, I'll say communication and facilitation. You do a lot of understanding people's needs change management is emotional. And so being able to read the room and respond in a way that is thoughtful to the culture there is really
Mhm.
important. Relationship building, and then leadership and collaboration. Those are the ones that
Yes.
came to mind. Yeah.
I think mine are pretty much the same. I think
Yeah.
communication for me looks a little bit different, and I just have to know how to communicate with different people or different disciplines.
Yeah.
And like the way I would speak to a developer is completely different than how I might speak to leadership.
Yes.
So just knowing the audience and being able to tailor my communication approach to them.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Even
Yeah.
though you're in a more technical field, both of our jobs are so centered on people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it
See,
makes sense
just
that we
it's
have a lot of similarities.
all about communication. Yes.
It sure is. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you to complete this phrase.
hmm
People who are really good at my job are.
Ooh, curious,
Mm,
empathetic, and detail oriented.
ooh, I love all of those things. Wait, same again. Curious, empathetic,
And detail oriented.
detail oriented. Okay.
How about yours?
People who are really good at my job are strategic, collaborative, and adaptable.
Mm, those are good too. Yeah, I mean, I think those would apply to mine too.
Yeah, and I was like, this is all good. Um, the other one I didn't include, but I think is, and maybe universally applicable, is self aware.
Mm, yeah.
Because I think self awareness is at the root of all effective teaming and conversation
Yeah, absolutely.
communication.
And it's so important to be at least self-aware, especially in terms of our biases. For my work, having to think in a broader mindset of like, what are other people going through? Where can we meet them where they are?
Yes. Yes. I
So,
mean, same with change management. If you don't know that, how are you going to bring people on a change journey?
right.
You
Exactly. Yeah.
can't.
hmm Yeah. I'm curious how you approach learning and development.
So, my company has a broad focus on what's available to us. We have some in house certifications for our approach to change management. There are certifications you can do, like ProSci or the Association for Change Management Professionals. Those aren't as much of an emphasis because clients a lot of times don't even ask for them, but
Mhm.
you're expected to have a good understanding of all standard models. So we do that. And then there are also, right now, there's a big push for AI. So we're doing a lot
Mm,
of growth and development and more technical skills, how to use AI tools.
right.
Um, Sometimes how to use Salesforce. If you're on a Salesforce project, you're expected to have some base level of Salesforce. Um, but I'll also supplement my like specific learning with courses on LinkedIn Learning, YouTube, even. Um,
Okay.
as I mentioned, like with every project, I am learning something new. I'm not always staffed on a Salesforce project. I'm not always staffed
Right.
on like an organizational transformation. So I have to be a sponge for the client's industry and technology
hmm
and try and do as much of that as possible. But sometimes you only have a week or two in between projects. So that discovery phase where you're learning more about your client and what they need and why you're there is going to help define the best steps I need to fulfill that mission. A lot of it's on the ground learning.
Yeah. Oh, same, same. I guess ours is a little bit different. We have our own learning platforms that we
Mm,
use, and I think we do in some of my jobs, we've had access to LinkedIn Learning, but most of my learning is done on the job. Personally, I will like do my own projects and learn the newest tools, or also it's done by talking to people and attending events
yeah.
with people in the community. So that's another way I learn.
Yeah. That conversation design community is strong.
It is, yes. There's lots going on at all times. So,
I haven't
yeah.
gotten to the point of nerdiness to attend all the change management conferences, but I know they exist
Yeah.
because one of my former
Uh-huh.
bosses was like all about it. And
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just cool to have so many people that are so passionate about what they do and
Yeah.
to be able to just talk about that and have fun doing it. It's one of the reasons I've stayed in the industry for so long.
Nice. Oh, so
So,
cool.
yeah. How do you approach feedback from your boss and your colleagues?
So we have a formal process that you can request feedback through a platform.
Mhm.
And people, there is a culture where you're encouraged to give feedback, especially before performance reviews, but just in general, I think as a source of encouragement. But
Mhm.
I ask for feedback after, in that formal way, after key deliverables. So, say I just delivered
Mhm.
this big change plan that was then implemented. How did that go? What did you see me do? Or a big presentation where I had a lot of client engagement. I would ask for feedback after that. And I think usually it's kind of that situation behavior impact, but I also am always curious to hear about like how I served relationship building. That's something that's a
Mhm.
big value to me, or how
Yeah.
I've helped people personally or not done my job as their teammate. So I think when I anticipate there's
Right.
something I could have done better, I will ask for time to talk about it or send a
Mhm.
ping rather than
Yeah.
that formal, right? It's that kind of one on one that I try and do throughout work, not just during
Yeah.
key deliverables.
Oh, of course, yeah. For us, it's well, because feedback is kind of it's tied to promotions and salary raises, so
Yeah.
it's very ingrained in our culture.
How is it tied?
So
Like, is it a certain number of feedback that you get, or they like what? How do they analyze what you've gotten?
they look at the type of feedback that you get. I guess the overall feedback, is it positive? Is it negative?
Yeah.
And they consider that as a factor
Yep.
when they're looking at promotions and salary raises.
Yeah.
Uh, but we also have specific feedback platforms that we use where you can request feedback. But then the feedback also goes to your manager as well. So
Yeah.
that's tough for me because I hate giving bad feedback to people. So I typically tend to, if there's anything that I would like to be done differently or something, I usually just do that one on one. I don't put that
Yep.
in like the feedback form.
Same at our
So
company. Yeah.
yeah.
And I know we have a whole episode that we're gonna do a deep dive on feedback because
Oh yes.
it's so important. It's such a
It
core
is.
component of growth.
Yeah, mhm, and the way you frame it too is so important. So in terms of promotions, what does that process look like for you?
I mean, you mentioned it is also tied to feedback. That's an important, and obviously performance and client reviews and things like that.
Mhm,
But utilization, how many hours you're billing a client
mhm,
time is a core component. So that's a big factor. Are you meeting your utilization goals? If you're not, you don't even have a chance.
yeah,
There's also, at my level, not an explicit number for sales, but you start to think about sales and how are you bringing more business to the company? How are you encouraging people to use us? Or how are you delivering at an advanced level? So it's a tiered system, right?
okay,
It's associate, consultant, senior consultant, principal, senior principal,
yeah,
director, and then you keep going up. Uh, One of the things that I think is common to talk about with consulting is like up or out culture, whether you're either actively going for a promotion or you're going to be pushed out. Um,
mm,
that's not the case at my company, for which I'm very
oh,
grateful.
that's really nice, yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's kind of and then you have, I think it's every year there's 2 promotion cycles, and you have to
okay.
plan in advance and make a case and have
Oh,
all your
yeah, we have
metrics
to
ready. Yeah, the whole thing.
yep. It's very detailed process and
Yes.
yeah, so in terms of the work itself for me, if you either progress as an individual contributor, which means you don't have any people reporting under you, or you become a manager.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the two paths right now with my role.
Yeah.
But with my corporate jobs, in order to get a promotion, it's been usually with a rubric. So they have all the career progressions and criteria mapped out, and you'll usually have to meet a certain level of the criteria. And you'll also need to have support from the higher ups, like the VPs, or most likely someone from leadership or senior leadership who make the final decisions. So
Okay.
that's yeah, I guess it's a mix of stuff. And then so usually what I do is just document any impact that I make and any good feedback that I get. So my manager or anyone else that is communicating with these people that are making the decisions can advocate on my behalf.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just really important to document and make sure you can communicate how you're impacting the company.
Yep, absolutely. All the time.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
also helps you feel good in those
Yes.
moments where you have doubt about if your work is making a difference. "Oh, these people
Oh,
said
yeah.
nice things, and yes, I'm
Right?
doing okay," right? We all have those
Yeah.
moments of doubt.
Oh,
Not
I
just good for
know.
promotion.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Do you have a favorite part of your job?
Well, it's not boring. Uh,
Yeah.
I'll say that. I think consulting really works your brain, and I that's something that I love. You're consistently having to pivot based on new information and client feedback, so I like
Mhm.
that, and I think I've learned a lot as a result. Consulting is such a great teacher, both about processes and people.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that that's maybe my absolute favorite thing is the people. I've made some incredible relationships through the people I work with. They are bright,
Yeah.
passionate, hardworking, and yeah, I think learning and the people. Those are my top two.
Yeah, those are my top 2,
Yeah.
also. I think people are my first, though,
Mm,
and being able to collaborate with people from all over the world and learn about different cultures, perspectives, and their experiences. I think
yes.
that's my favorite part.
So good. It also kind of just speaks to like we have two different jobs, but similar values, and we're able to find them in totally
Yeah,
different spaces.
exactly, and I feel like that's a lot of these things carry over for any career that you're working on.
Okay, so we've done some warm fuzzies, but what don't you like about your job?
Ooh, there isn't much, I will say. I think sometimes it gets a little bit more technical than I would like, but I think that's really the only thing. And I think if that's the only thing, that's a huge win.
Yeah, that's
But
great.
yeah, I generally love what I do. How about you?
I kind of mentioned this, but as a consultant, you don't necessarily have a lot of agency,
Mm,
um, right? Which is okay, and I think it's actually given me an opportunity to reframe, because even though I'm not the decision maker as I have been in the past, and the deliverables are
mhm.
not really my own at the end of the day,
Yeah,
um, I think that the silver lining of this is I am kind of constantly challenged to be humble and put the client first and to reframe
yeah,
kind of the ability that I have to influence other people. It's made me lean into that in a different way as opposed to, you know, it's not mine, but where can I make the case for somebody else that this will help them in a different way and just kind of test that. Um,
mhm,
and then let them go if they choose not to go that way and to support them and whatever they think is best. But
yeah,
I think the other thing that's been hard for me personally is, and I think this is the corporate world, not just consulting. We've seen a lot of it in tech. Is layoffs and then
that's
team.
literally what I had on.
Yes, layoffs
Yes,
are hard.
yep. Oh, yeah, they're awful.
They're brutal. They're really like brutal acts. Corporate, you're done. End of the day, everything access cut off. Your friends and your community, which I think is part of the reason that I'm so against family being used in a professional context.
Mhm, yeah,
um, because it's not you would never lay off your family member like that.
yeah. Oh,
Connected to
yeah,
layoffs, but it's not layoffs, but in consulting, it's just the nature of what we do is there's a lot of
yeah.
turnover. Like you could love your project team,
Mm,
be with them for 2 years, and then your project ends and you all get assigned to different contracts and projects,
mhm,
and you
yeah.
don't get to talk to those people, which is fine in some ways, but I find it hard sometimes because I get close to people.
Yeah,
Um,
of course, yeah,
you
you
know,
it's closely with them. It's just, yeah, the nature of what you do, and it's you're working with people, and it's a people job, so of course you get to know people and get close to them, and but I think I've been lucky with that, and I've been
mm,
able to in touch with a lot of people over LinkedIn or so that's been nice. But
it's
yeah,
true.
it's tough when everything changes so much. So,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
and my project has spanned from, like, 5 weeks to 2 years, so it's
Oh,
like
wow.
it's you don't know what you're gonna get. But again, looking at the bright side of this is you gain a lot of experience on how to build effective teams and work with a lot of different types of people too, so that's been
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Okay. Is there anything else you wanna share that we didn't cover?
The only other thing I'll say about consulting is the jargon is stupid. Uh
Oh, there's no standardization in my field, so it's, literally, people will say 3 different terms for the same thing, and there's we have a million different job titles and roles, and it's free for all out there.
Oh, right. Free for all and just like speak like humans, boil the
Yeah.
ocean, low hanging fruit, synergy, circle back. Let's just be normal. The only other thing I was thinking about is that, like, as a consultant, you might be staffed to a specific role, change manager, learning strategist, but what you end up doing is not always what is scoped because
Oh
you
yeah.
kind of have to flex into different roles as opportunities are needed or as you need to like support the client. That's not usually you want to stick to the scope and just be very clear, but you're going to flex a little bit and that's part of the learning process. I
That was
mean,
my experience working at the agency too.
yeah.
It was just I did so much more than I was originally tasked with. So
And there's a culture of that too. It's like you're meant to deliver more. It's like, yes, do the stuff that we ask you to do and
right.
then do a lot more.
Mhm.
Which is,
Yeah, and it's not always healthy. You have to, protect your boundaries, but at the same time, you're working for a client, so you need to do the best you can to do as much as you can for them without, wearing yourself down.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, Emily, I think we found a lot of parallels with what we do, which has been fascinating. Um,
Yeah.
and I hope that if their curiosity has been piqued for either of our jobs, they do a little deeper dive and check out different things,
Mhm.
or ask us if you're curious about more.
Yeah,
Um,
reach out on LinkedIn.
yeah, and I guess we should say these are our opinions, not the
Yes.
perspectives or opinions of our employers. And we're speaking only from our experience. There's a lot of different types of conversation designers and consultants out
Yeah.
there, but this is what we've experienced.
So this wraps up our intro series for the stories. So we'll continue with the deep dives on the specific topics and the guest episodes. And if there's something we haven't talked about yet that you think we should cover, just reach out and let us know.
Thanks,
So thank you
everybody.
so much. Bye. My Career Journey is produced by Emily Banzhaf and Allegra Montanari. If you enjoy our content, follow us wherever you get your podcasts and find us on YouTube and Instagram at My Career Journey Pod. Thanks for listening.